My name is Cheryl Morant. I'm the Director at Little Discoveries Childcare Limited and we've got a day nursery based in Yeovil, Somerset.
I'm Naomi Barton, I'm the manager here at Little Discoveries Day Nursery.
Little Discoveries Day Nursery is a small independent childcare setting based in Somerset. We are set in an area of deprivation where it means our focus on the children is to give them the best possible outcomes. Not only that, it's about thinking about the staff that we have here and giving them the opportunity to develop their own skill sets and up-train, up-skill so they can be the best possible practitioner that they can be as well.
So the staff roles within the setting, I'm the manager. I work directly under Cheryl. Underneath me is an assistant manager and a supervisor, and then you have the level 3 practitioners, the level 2 practitioners and the apprentices. And sometimes we have trainees that are working towards an apprenticeship and would like to work their way up.
In addition to that, we also take on work experience students once a year from the local schools, and we have staff which will qualify up to a level 5 qualification working on the floor too.
So for me, what makes childcare the most rewarding career is the outcomes you see, the differences you make and the rewards from the children. That's what I enjoy the most. For me, I started as a level 2 apprentice in a local school. I then did my level 3 in a different nursery. I then came to Little Discoveries in 2015 as a room lead, so giving me the opportunity to have a staff team underneath me and to make what I see as a vision happen within the room. I'm then lucky enough to work into a supervisor role, which then makes my team below me larger and more opportunities, so working directly with Cheryl and the manager. I then became an assistant manager and again jumped into a little bit more challenge and more rewards and working with children that have SEN needs and behaviour issues and working with families that just need that extra support. I then became manager here and I now work overseeing the building, the running of day-to-day, supporting staff with their difficulties and their needs. But for me, it's my passion. As I was explaining to you, I find it really, really hard to keep myself office-based and paperwork when there is so much fun to be had with the children, so many opportunities that you can share with them, cooking, baking, painting, all of these things. And just to see smiles on faces of children that don't necessarily have gardens to play in, or they don't do cooking, they don't do all these activities. So it is a really rewarding thing to go from A at the beginning of the year and see the child flourish at the end of the year.
And sort of just going on from that as well, that especially with the special education needs kind of side of things, and children that are requiring safeguarding as well, the rewards for that when you know you've done your hardest that you can possibly do and kept that child safe, and also giving them every opportunity that when they leave us to go to school, they're ready for the next step of learning. And to be able to be a practitioner and say, okay, I've known this child for 4 or 5 years, I can see where they were when they started and I can see who they are now and their personalities and abilities come through. That has to be the most rewarding thing working with children.
It's when you have a child that has no speech, nothing when they first come to you, and over 6 months you start to see them signing or just a single word, and by the end of their time with us they're thanking you, they're saying goodbye, they're ready to just move on and take on the world, take on the next step that is life.
And the parents as well, they're thanks in your support for doing that. And working with external practitioners as well can be extremely rewarding. We learn so much from working with those, so area special education needs coordinators, speech and language therapists, OTs, everybody, but yeah, it's the whole package, isn't it? It's not one specific area that okay, that's what makes my day. It's everything that we do here. I think the main element that they bring to the business is we work within legal ratios for age-related aspects of the business. So our babies are 1 member of staff to 3 children, our toddlers are 1 member of staff to 4 children, and our older children are 1 member of staff to 8. When we're dealing with children with additional needs, speech and language, working within those ratios is very difficult. So having those extra pairs of hands and eyes around, that's what is best for us with having the trainees in the setting, because they can do that. They can sit with the children and they can read a story whilst the practitioners are dealing with the other elements, or sitting one-to-one with the child to give them the support that they need. So I think that's the biggest element to having a trainee or an apprentice with us, we found.
It's the nurturing side as well, isn't it? Because they come in and they get to play, they build those relationships, and that's really helpful for us, because some children take to other people quickly, and when they're friendly and they're fun and they're playing, it makes the day-to-day run much, much smoother. So they get the fun jobs, you know, like exploring play, sensory play, messy play, all of those kind of things.
As a practitioner, you're sort of having to engage in doing a lot of observational work, report writing, things like that. So again, to have that apprentice or that trainee there that are learning the roots, and I think the main thing to learn at the beginning is how to play with children, you know, how to build a relationship, because until you've built a relationship and trust with a child or children, that child cannot develop beyond that. So it's so important that that is in place, and it allows us to be able to do that across the setting. Most apprentices stay with us, and we've had about 5 or 6 apprentices over the years. We've got 5 of those with us now, and that have come through the Somerset Skills and Learning route. So yes, where possible, they will stay on with us in full-time employment or part-time employment, depending on what the needs of the business are.
Also, what we like to push from the get-go, even if they come in as a traineeship, is what a practitioner does on a day-to-day basis. You know, I don't want them to walk into an apprenticeship and then think, oh my gosh, I'm overwhelmed of all this information I'm being given. From day one, we talk about the need for the forms we're using and why we're doing what we're doing, and why we're using the EYFS to observe the children, and can you help me do this? And it just then gives them an idea, yes, I can do this apprenticeship. I'm not going to be overwhelmed or go into something I don't know, you know, what's going to happen next. They're able to go in as, I've been doing this for a long time now, I've been doing this underneath that person, I'm familiar to the setting, I know their ways, and I completely can excel in my apprenticeship because I know where I'm going. Whereas sometimes if they weren't to do the traineeships, or they haven't been in a setting before, it can be a bit like, I'm just going to go and play with children, and like, you know, it gives them that cause, that purpose, that what we do and why we do it, and it then makes their level 3, level 2 easier, because they already have that information to go forward with.
I think it's very difficult when we have students come to us through different routes other than apprenticeships, because they may only come into the setting for 12 hours a week for selected hours, and so they're not really seeing the true role of a practitioner. So the staff that we have here, they're showing the apprentices what the day-to-day job is, and then, like Naomi says, there's no surprises at the end of it. They know what their role is, and we can then take them on knowing what their strengths are, and also where they still need to develop, because at the end of a qualification, it doesn't mean it's the end of your learning, you still continue. So Somerset Skills and Learning have been really supportive over the last 7 years. We have a really good relationship with the team in the Yeovil office. When it comes to recruiting, we speak to the Bridgewater team, and they're able to sort of link us up with potential trainees or apprentices, depending on what our needs are, and meet with them, and you know, we can make our selections on the right practitioners or potential practitioners at that point. Ongoing through the training process, we have regular meetings. The tutors will come in here, meet with yourself, where they need, and sort of go over where the students are with their learning, what they need to do, any areas that they're struggling in or excelling in. So yeah, it's very supportive. We get to keep up to date with the learning processes as well, what's new out there. So yeah, it's a good team partnership in that sense.
For me, with Somerset Skills and Learning, if I was to need to know where somebody is at, I can email. They're very good at email. This is their plan, this is their criteria, this is what they're working on. The same as if I pick up a phone and say, you know, what are we working towards now? Okay, I'm coming out for this observation, so I can give the team the information that they're looking for, but also the apprentice, making sure they've got what they need to be observed, because there's nothing more overwhelming than again not having the information. So it's a unit, isn't it? You can support them from all angles of their learning.
the idea of the traineeship is for them to understand what we do here, what the sector of childcare is about, and for them to ensure that they are following the right area for them. So yes, passion is important, that we can see that they've got an interest in working with children, of course, because again, if it isn't there at the beginning, it's not going to be there after training. But we don't have such big expectations on our trainees. It's about that opportunity for them to discover, is this the right thing for me, or do I want to go into another area of training, you know, whether that be in the care industry or in the beauty industry or any other industry.
For me as well, it's their opportunity to shine. Why am I going to make these people want me as an apprentice? What can I do that is going to say, yes, I'm willing to sign them up to an apprenticeship? So it's your chance to come in and be you. What have you got to offer the business? What have you got to offer the children? How can you stand out from everybody else? Because at times we do get quite a few traineeships and you only have one apprentice space, so it is an opportunity to sell yourself, you know, make yourself stand out and make us believe that, no, I would like that person, they would work well with us in our company.
You know, making sure they're going into the right thing. My youngest is 15, she's in her last year of school, and we've been through that, oh, I want to go into childcare, oh no, I don't want to go into childcare, I want to go into, I don't know what I want to do.
Yeah.
You know, it's really difficult at, you know, at 16 years old, 17 years old, when they're coming into workplace settings, for them to really know what it is that they want to do. You know, when you're sat in a school environment and they're saying, well, you can go to childcare and you can do this, it's not actually a true reflection of what the job is. So we don't have those huge expectations of them when they're coming through a traineeship. It's almost like just testing the water, you know, is this for you, is it for us? You know, are you the right person for us, are you the right, you know, are we the right people for you? So it's all of those, just the very basics, isn't it, of traineeship, of getting to know whether it's the right thing to do. And like Naomi says, you know, if it is what they want to do, they'll know after a couple of weeks, realistically.
Yeah.
And then it's their opportunity to step up and go, actually, if there's an apprenticeship going here, I'm the person for you. So it gives them that opportunity to do that.
For me, when a trainee is with us on the floor and just getting to grips with things, understanding the day-to-day routine, it's story reading, it's song time, it's joining play, it's having fun. You know, I might say to them, oh, could you just carry out that messy activity that includes painting, or mixing paint is always a key thing, and just testing them a little bit, how they cope with that, how do they make sense of that, do they ask for help, do they clarify things, but also just that spare pair of hands. You know, when you're with a group of 8 to 10 children, putting on coats, using the sense that, okay, we're going outside, they might want wellies on, let's switch them over. Again, I'm quite keen on, when I'm doing things, I explain to them why I'm doing it, because knowledge is power. You know, they take that on board. The next time they can then wow with, oh, you're doing that because of this, I will do that. And it's just giving them the life skills in a day-to-day running of a nursery. So, yeah.
For our apprentices, it's still very much that, especially in their first few weeks. But then they're chomping at the bit to change nappies and do all sorts of things. But it's a case of actually we need to take them through those processes slowly and correctly. So I could say to an apprentice, okay, that's fine, go off and change a nappy, but they won't necessarily do it the correct way. There is ways to be taught to do that, so they have to be shadowing especially with nappy changing, it's very much a personal thing, so it's about that engagement with the child as well at that time. So it's not just the practical change of a nappy, it's about how you're going to engage with that child. That's that one-to-one time, which is quite unusual to get in a busy setting. So, you know, we sort of ease them in. They are not key workers or even shadow key workers for probably about the first 6 months. We're looking at just allowing them to explore an area, maybe moving them around from one area after 3 months into another age band, so they're getting that across the setting experiences, and then we can start building them up into more responsible tasks, like, okay, why don't you sit and write down what this child is doing. That would be the basis of your observation writing, which is important because that will go on to report writing, that will go on to the parents, it will go on to schools, it could go on to an external professional. We would allow them to shadow key work as well, so they might be jointly responsible for 1 or 2 children, so that is a next step up for them.
And When every apprentice starts with us, we have what we call a competency pack. So it's our role broken down into different sections, and it's our way of visually supporting them. So we talk them through the process, and then we would teach and then observe, and then they would do it by themselves. And I feel that's important so that they're not thrown into something. They've had the method given to them. We then go through it a couple of times. Nappy changing, I'm quite big on a few times before we say, okay, you're fine to do that. But everyone then works through the competencies. They know where they are at, we know where they are at, and they're getting all the information needed to be able to do that task, rather than just walking through a door and saying, change that nappy for me, do that for me.
And I think some tasks can be quite daunting. So if you're, as an apprentice, expected quite early on to go and speak to a parent about how a child's day's been, even if it's been, absolutely fine, there's been no issues on the day, that can be very, very daunting for them. So you have to prep them for that. So it's not a case of, right, okay, there's that job, you're going to do this, you're going to do that. We do food hygiene training with the staff quite early on as well in their apprenticeship, so they're able to help out in the kitchen, and that could be anything from washing up, which again, something you do, something I would step in and do, cleaning down the kitchen at the end of a meal, at the end of the day, and also cooking the meal, preparing snacks, all sorts of things. So yeah, we're very valued, but we sort of take them through step-by-step processes.